everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news as things hot up around Manchester United. Not my words, can't get my words out. I'm not Manchester United this morning, which is always good. Fabrizio Romano has dropped a major update which has got nothing to do with Zirkzee and it's got nothing to do with Branthwaite, although we will be talking about them because there are some major updates around Joshua Zirkzee and what is actually going on there. Milan still think they might be leading the race, but they won't pay the agent fees. So does that mean that Man United are going to pay the agent fees? There's a bit of false, misinterpreted news that we don't want to pay the release clause when we do. Does Zirkzee want to come to Man United? Is that what it's all about? Well, Erik ten Hag wants him. Also, Simon Stone in the BBC updating about Branthwaite and that likely new bid that we spoke about 48 hours ago that will go in from Manchester United. I'm pretty much sure about that. But the exciting news. Loads of people are going to regurgitate the Zirkzee news and we'll definitely talk about that because there is some more news to bring there. But I think this is the most exciting thing. So I'm just going to, fly solo here and just do something that probably no one else is going to do. And actually just go with something that I know this community, I think you're going to be as excited as me. This update from Fabrizio Romano basically says, what I'm hearing, not me, Fabrizio's words, on the midfield, what I'm hearing in the last 24 to 48 hours is that Manchester United have made some calls for midfielders. They're considering to do something in the transfer window with Casemiro leaving the club. It's a concrete possibility to see Casemiro leaving, and Manchester United want to go for some solutions there. So keep an eye on United and midfielders because it's also a concrete possibility for United to go and cover that position. So in the last 24 to 48 hours, we've been speaking to representatives of midfield options to replace Casemiro. And I think what's happening here is, and some people would say, well, it was obvious, but there's saying and there's doing. And I'm a big believer in life and in football that dwelling on the past does nobody any good. Bad decisions get made. Bad things happen. Good things happen. But the point is, it's in the past. And if you keep living on that, then you're never going to move forward. And we've all been in that position where we look at the past and go, why did that happen? That's not fair. Why did I make that choice? Why did I do that? Why did they do that? We can't keep looking at the past and saying it's going to define our future. We have a new future. And we have to live in that future. And I believe in the Ten Hag decision. And I said when that was made, I'm going to get all in with what Ineos are trying to do. And I think the fundamental point was to listen and go with Ten Hag. And now that that's happened, we're seeing these moves for players like Zirkzee, which is a player that Ten Hag wants. Branthwaite is a player that Ten Hag wants. And we're now moving on midfielders. Now, who is that midfielder going to be? I've got 5 names for you. But they will be players that Ten Hag wants that Ineos are in agreement with. And we've heard for so many weeks now that Man United's priority are a striker, a midfielder and a centre-back. And if you want something beyond that, whether it's an Elise, whether it's a Frimpong, whether it's a left-back, it can be frustrating because you're like, I want a right-back, I want a right-winger, and I know we're going to buy a centre-back, a midfielder and a striker, and that's the priority. But if you get those priorities done quickly, then you can move on to those other positions. And what I see from United at the moment on June the 19th is that we are in advanced talks with Branthwaite. We are in advanced talks with Zirkzee. And in the last 48 hours, we're in talks with a midfielder as well. If you can wrap those 3 priorities up by early July, that gives you the rest of the window to go and do the other things. And I'll tell you what, I'm not planning on talking about Elise on this show, but if you want an update, it's not done to Chelsea. We are still in that race. Sanil says it's crazy to think Greenwood is way better than even Zirkzee. No way we should sell him for 25 million. Sanil, I think you need to move on. Like, you are exactly what I was talking about there. You're living in the past. You're living in it's not fair. You're living in we should keep Greenwood. He's gone. He's going. United aren't going to bring Greenwood back. The decision was made ages ago. He's gone. Now, I'm not being unsympathetic, but what are you doing bringing it into your life every single day? That's exactly what I was talking about a few minutes ago. Life's not fair. Decisions you don't agree with. You need to move forward. We're not going to bring Greenwood back. He's gone. He's going to go. He's not coming back. You're wasting your time going on about it. I'm not saying you're wrong, but It's not going to happen. Morning All says, Obi, all this talk of change at the club with the players Carrington has made Man United mental health do a U-turn. What a change a few weeks makes. It's a busy time, Obi, and I think everybody says that. But before we talk about the Zirkzee deal, because there are plenty of updates on that, and I know it's the lead story because that's probably going to be the deal that happens way before a midfielder. But I wanted to bring the midfielder situation in because this, to me, is a massive, massive position. When you look at the striker position, when you look at the centre-back position, you have two centre-backs. We've already got Rasmus, but midfield is where games are won and lost. And I look at that midfield, and it's probably, for me, the most important area to invest in. Now, if you've tuned in a few minutes late, Romano Fabrizio is saying that Man United in the last 24 to 48 hours have made approaches to people around midfielders. Who are those midfielders? That's who you want to know. So I've got 5 for you. I'd be absolutely stunned if we haven't approached at least 3 of these. And I'd be very, very surprised if we don't sign one of them. There could be something really left field. Let's hope there is. At some point, United are going to do something really left field. And what I mean by that is we're going to go and scout someone no one's ever heard about and we're going to go and sign them. But in midfield, it's such a priority position. I don't think that will happen. I think Man United are going to do exactly what they're doing with the centre-back position. We will go in for somebody and we will have others ready to go. I think that João Neves not playing for Portugal is a positive. I think it's stupid from Roberto Martinez, but I think João Neves not playing for Portugal gives us an opportunity. And I think we're going to, as I said last week, I think we will try. I don't think we will do it, but I think we will try. So I think João Neves is certainly someone we're going to talk to. I think that Rabiot, who I thought played very well for France the other day, and I've said for free, you know, I thought Kante was good. I thought Rabiot was very good as well. I think Rabiot is definitely someone we're going to talk to. We've spoken to him for the last 2 summers. So João Neves, Rabiot. I'd throw Fofana in from Monaco, who I'm not too sure about, only because I haven't seen a lot of him, but I'd certainly throw Fofana from Monaco in there as well. He's available for about 35 million. So you've got very expensive João Neves, but probably game changer. You've got free transfer Rabiot, but there is a little bit of baggage. You've got Fofana, who's cheap, but might not be good enough. I think Edison has to be in there. Atalanta connections. We've got good relationships with him. We've scouted him before. Dan Ashworth liked him at Newcastle. 35 to 40 million pounds. I think Edison's certainly in there as well. And then I'd probably say the 5th one's a bit of a mystery. Probably take your pick. You know, it could be Thuram at Nice, who I don't really think is a holding midfielder. Anana at Everton, we've been linked to before. I wouldn't throw in Holmlund of Sporting Lisbon and Denmark because the release clause is going to be way, way, way too high, and he's nowhere near as good as João Neves, I don't think. So I think it's João Neves, Rabiot, Fofana, Edison. I think they're the 4 we're looking at the moment, and maybe Anana. But that's what I think we're looking at. And if you're just tuning in, United are talking to midfielders in the last 24 to 48 hours, according to Fabrizio Romano. So that's going to be the next thing. And I think it's going to be one of those 5. Zubimendi. The thing about Zubimendi is I haven't thrown him in there, not because I've forgotten. I have. No, I haven't. I haven't thrown Zubimendi in there because I think he's your choice. I think he's not legitimately been linked to us yet from anybody that I would say is credible. It could be him, and he would be a good player, and I'd be reasonably priced, but look, Zubimendi at the moment isn't who I think it is. Welcome to the Members Club, Nevster. I thought you were a member before. Well, what's going on, Nev? Hope you're doing well. I know we're linked to him, but Fofana isn't a 6. I'd definitely avoid him from what I've seen personally. Would obviously love Neves, says Perry. Embolo, please, Mark, says Simon. I think Embolo, I remember when we were going to sign Embolo years ago. I don't see that happening. Stedge says, what about Xavi Simons? How likely is that? I don't really get the Simons story. I know Beth was talking about it yesterday and I've seen it mentioned, but I don't really get it. I don't really see the point. He's not an 8. He's certainly not a 6. We've got Bruno. We've got Mount. We've got Garnacho. We've got Ahmad. Yeah, I just don't see the point. And we've also got younger players that aren't far off the team as well. So I don't see that at all. I really don't. Yeah, I don't see that really. But, you know, who knows? Nigel says, crying over spilled milk with Greenwood isn't going to do us anything. We need to move on. Yeah, harsh but fair. It's just not going to happen. And Mr. Solo has gifted a membership there. So, look, very excited this morning about the situation with the midfielder. definitely. That's what I want to see. Who would I take? João Neves. How do you do that deal? Got no idea. If it's not going to be him, I'd like Edison. I like the look of him. I wouldn't say no to Rabiot. And obviously Zubimendi would be interesting, but I don't think we're looking at him. Would you take Thuram and making Amrabat permanent? No, Ryan. I don't think Thuram at Nice is anywhere near a holding midfielder. John Snow says, what about Frankie de Jong? You know nothing, John. Barella would be great, but it won't happen, King, either. And Horn 3TX says, it's my birthday and I'm still wondering how it's come around so quickly. Love the shows as always. Happy 20th birthday to you, mate. Hope you're doing really well. Right, we maybe come back to the midfielder, but that's what I wanted to get into the headline of the show because so many people are going to talk about Zirkzee and Branthwaite, and I'm happy to do that. But we do things a little bit differently here, and we did talk about Zirkzee at 7 o'clock last night, and also I just think the midfield situation is really, really exciting, and it's very exciting when someone like Fabrizio says we're talking to midfielders. What I expect to happen next is we get some names, because it's all right saying we're speaking to midfielders, but we know the names need to come out. We were in this situation with the striker for a long time, weren't we? We now know it's Zirkzee. We were in this situation with centre-backs for a while. We now know it's Branthwaite. So I expect the next stage is we're going to find out who the midfielder is we're going for. What about Kimmich? I would take Kimmich, but I don't think, again, I don't think we're going to do that. We need 6s and 8s, fullbacks and strikers as a priority, says Goldio. Let me give you the latest on Zirkzee. Now, the first thing I would say, observation-wise, because I don't think anybody has actually said it yet, is that Zirkzee wants Manchester United. IMO. In my opinion, Zirkzee wants Manchester United. I don't think Fabrizio, Damarcio, David Ornstein, or any other journalist has actually said that yet, but I'm going to say it. Zirkzee wants Manchester United, because it is only my opinion, and if I had somebody telling me it, I would tell you, but I think you sometimes can observe this. In my opinion, Zirkzee wants Man United, because, you know, listening to Fabrizio last week when he was on the United stand, reading all the stories, Zirkzee to AC Milan has been worked on for a long time, and Zirkzee to Milan early July was obviously because of the end of the financial year. That's why they were doing it, and that's why there was the delay. Man United have seen an opportunity and swooped in to hijack the deal. We all know that. But if Zirkzee wants to go to Milan, you can't hijack the deal. So I think Zirkzee's seen the Man United interest and he wants Man United. Now, it doesn't mean he won't sign for Milan. Man United could back out and they might not be able to do a deal. But I think it's very obvious that Zirkzee's made a transfer request to his agent to speak to Man United, because that's where he'd ideally like to go. Now, players don't always end up where they want to go. You know, Slow Sports News. Let him speak, Simon. You know, players do not always end up where they want to go. You might be a footballer playing like Zirkzee who wants to go to Man United, but you end up at AC Milan and you're happy. So I think he wants to come to Man United, and I think that's why this is opened up. This is why it's presented itself. Now, there was a story this morning that Man United want Zirkzee, but they don't want to pay the release clause. They do want to pay the release clause. They don't want to pay the agent fee. The release clause is 34 million quid. I mean, no football club is going to say, let's negotiate that down, because that release clause is a problem for Bologna. It's actually quite cheap for the player that he is. So I think where we are with this at the moment, and there's quite a lot of stories, but Damarcio, who's obviously in Italy, has said that AC Milan want Zirkzee, but they don't want to pay the 15 million euros in agent fees, which is absolutely ridiculous. We're talking 12.5 million quid here in agent fees. That agent fee, just figure it out like this. You're not paying 34 million for the release clause. You're paying 46. That's what the agent fee is. It's just a hidden transfer fee. So we're not getting Zirkzee for 34 million. You're getting him for 45, because it's hidden. It's what Raiola did with Haaland. Man City didn't pay £70 million to Dortmund for Haaland. They paid £70 million to Dortmund, and then they paid the rest of the transfer fee to Raiola, which some people say ran into tens of millions of pounds. So don't be an idiot in the modern game of football. And it makes me sick. It makes me sick, and FIFA and UEFA should be doing something about it, because you get football fans going, what a bargain, 34 million cash back, and it's not. You're not paying 34 million. You're paying 34 million to the club, and then the rest of the transfer fee is going to the agent. So I don't want to hear people going, what a bargain, when you're paying 10 million to the agent. That's more. That's basically a quarter of the transfer fee going to the agent. So Milan aren't happy about it. Man United aren't happy about it. But obviously there are stories coming out that the deal with Milan is breaking down, and that Zirkzee's agent is far more willing to do a deal with Man United now. But we could still end up giving that agent 10. We could still give him 8. We could still give him 8. So I don't like it. I don't think it should be enough to stop a deal, because ultimately you're still getting a player for under £50 million that might be quite good. But I do think that, I don't know what you're talking about, Chris, because we haven't had a loss in subscribers at all. I think it's really interesting around how that works. But bottom line is, Zirkzee wants to come to Man United, in my opinion. United are hijacking this deal, and I think United are going to sit down with Zirkzee and his agent and go, what can we do here? And we'll either pay it or we won't. And I said that last night. And I think we can all, you know, come up with opinions on what's going to happen. But as Simon Stone says, Man United are keen to do business early in the transfer window, and are interested in signing Joshua Zirkzee and considering whether to make a bid. There has been communication with the player's advisor, of course, and we know this. We know this from last night, but it's that consideration of whether you make a bid or not. Well, we're not considering making a bid because it's a release clause. It's £34 million. You either pay it or you don't, and it is a good fee to pay. But it will come down to what we do about that. Now, there is another update coming in from Italy, saying that Man United's talk has been positive, but Damartio is saying Manchester United's interest in Zirkzee is concrete, but if United satisfy the requests of his agent, there would be little AC Milan could do about it. AC Milan think the agent fees are excessive. So, you know, look, I like Zirkzee. I spoke about that last night. Welcome to the Members Club, Andy. I do like Zirkzee, but I don't like... There's just something sinister about football, and we all know it's there. And I don't like... I honestly just... Maybe I'm in the minority. I do not like giving agents that amount of money. It just makes me sick. You know, you sell a player for 34 million, you're lucky if you get 10%. You shouldn't be getting 12 million quid. What have you done? Put your fucking suit and tie on and signed a few bloody bits of paper? Come on. You know, he's one of the up-and-coming transfer targets of the summer, and you want to give yourself 12 million quid. Come on, it's disgusting. What are you for doing? It's absolutely disgusting. But look, the player himself would be interesting. Actually, I'm gonna read something out here, because I'd given you my opinion last night on Zirkzee, but some of you might not know a lot about him. And I was reading this today, and it was very, very interesting to read. Swedish Rumble, we mention it quite a lot. They do very good breakdowns on X/tag Twitter. And it sort of fits in with what I'd said. So I said about Zirkzee, I like the idea of the signing, but I'm a little bit surprised about it, because he is quite raw in the sense that it's the Italian league. He's tall. He's more technical in the build-up. He can drift in and out of games. But obviously, you know, he's inexperienced, and there's potential there. So this is what Swedish Rumble said. He's a unit, 6'4". When the ball pings around him and he's a step behind, he can look a bit lackadaisical with the ball. He's also erratic with his dribbling, which makes him very hard to contain. At times he will lose the ball, so all of a sudden 15 to 20 minutes have passed of a game and you get a kid who doesn't look like he's really turned on. But he's got a real strength that at least he will fight back to get back into games, even if he's not playing well. And when things are going his way, he can be a real force of nature. Very strong on the ball, great dribbler, good passer, drops deep, as we were talking about last night, and can carry the ball up the pitch despite defenders trying to grab a hold of him. The big upside is that he's really skilled and creative offensively, but he could definitely grow into a special player as well. So I think that, look, I think the general assessment on Zirkzee, and look, I've not seen loads of Zirkzee, I've seen a lot more of him than I have of someone like Fofana. But I think the general assessment of him is that he's very raw. And, you know, but he is a player that drops deep. He is a player that gets involved in the build-up. He is a player that you could imagine dropping deep and trying to play Rashford in or Garnacho in or someone like that. And he is very... I would say that Zirkzee, if he comes to Man United, is very similar to Rasmus. Not in play style, but in... won't be the finished article. Will not be the finished article. And... in some ways, I think that's good, because when you've got a manager like Ten Hag, I think he works better with players that have still got development in them. Last season, our best players were Garnacho and Kobe Mainoo, and Rasmus and Delo. And those players, with the exception of Bruno, who's just, you know, Bruno, but those players were our better players. And so I think bringing in the likes of Zirkzee would fit in with that development hunger, rather than bringing in an established striker who might think they already know it. If Zirkzee wants us, says Rory C, he should remove his agent, or at least ask him to stop with his stupid demands that may jeopardise the deal, says Rory. I think it's going to be very interesting over the next few hours and days what happens with Zirkzee, because I feel that what we're looking at is a player that has... hold on a minute. I think we've got a player here that you like the player, but you just worry a little bit about the wage and the agent fees, don't you? And we will always be judged on that. We will always be judged on that, and we should always be judged on that, because we are a club that are trying to move on from the past. We're trying to move forward, and that's absolutely fine. But the problem with the issues from the past is if you keep making those same mistakes, even if you make slight improvements, people will still go, oh, but you're still doing that. We saw it last week with the Branthwaite 160 grand a week. It's too much, and people say it's too much. And if you give £10 million to an agent, it's disgusting. And if you give Zirkzee 170 grand a week, it's too much. So those questions will always get asked. Of course they will. Would agent fees come under FFP? Over 10 million is awful, says Kai. I don't know how that works, but I don't know how that works. I presume it does. I don't know. Anyway, also very interesting update also from coming in from Simon Stone, BBC, very credible journalist, not the sort of journalist who will just, you know, throw out speculation. Manchester United are keen to do business early in the transfer window and are expected to improve their £35 million offer for Jarrad Branthwaite, which was rejected at the weekend. So that coming in from Simon Stone in the BBC is very, very interesting. We did a video probably Monday lunchtime. New bid, Jarrad Branthwaite. There has been talk of Manchester United walking away. What I've been told, and that's not changed since Monday, is that Man United will put a second bid in. It might be their last. Of course, they can walk away. But what I was told on Monday is that Man United will put a new bid in, and that the relationship between Everton and Manchester United, despite Twitter wars, is actually very good and has been good for years. So this whole Everton wants 70 million and United will walk away. Of course, that's always an option, but it's not. I don't think it's a fallout. I think it's a we can't do business, and I don't think that's going to happen. The second bid will go in. Why haven't we gone in with a second bid so quickly? Well, I just think it's more about establishing we don't want to keep making... If you make one bid and it gets rejected and you make a second bid and it gets accepted, fine. If you make one bid and it gets rejected and you make a two bid and it gets rejected, you get into the area of, well, why would they accept the third bid? This is just going to go on and on and on. So I think that what United are probably doing here is, look, we want the player wants to come to us. You clearly are open to doing a deal. What's the deal that we're going to do here that's going to please everybody? Because you're not getting 60 million. You're not getting 55 million. You're certainly not getting 70 million. So what deal are we doing here? Let's do 45 plus 15. in add-ons. Let's do that. Are we going to do that? No, you don't want to do that? What do you want to do? Do you want to do 47 plus 13? Oh, you want to do 60 plus 15? Goodbye. See you later. So I think that's what we're at here. But I think United will put a second bid in, even if Everton say we want 60. I think United will just go, there's 45 plus 15 final offer, put it on the table. Our fans know that we did it. Everyone knows that we did it. Everyone will know it's a reasonable bid, and everyone will know you rejected it. And I think that's what will happen. I agree with Shredded. I think agent fees need capping. Yeah, I mean, look, the underbelly of football, let's not pretend it has the morals that you have. Like, the underbelly of football is ridiculous. I mean, there's people saying, you know, Euro 2024 being sponsored by Qatar Airways is odd, considering it's the Euros. I mean, I don't know what that's all about, but I'm not saying there's a problem with it. I'm just saying that people scrutinise football to the nth degree. We've had charges against FIFA and UEFA in the past. The underbelly of football agency, you don't even want to know. I mean, look, maybe one day I'll get into that world, but I don't think enough people are actually interested. But the way that football agents pick up players outside of the rules that the Premier League have is widespread. So, you know, and the money that changes hands between players and their families that isn't meant to, but still does, is incredible. Absolutely incredible. So you're not meant to do these things, but they are happening, and they always have happened. But even then, like, this agent is still able to say, I want 12 million for Zirkzee going from Bologna to Milan. Look, imagine Man United weren't even interested. Bologna striker goes to AC Milan for 34 million and the agent gets 12. What? Oh, I didn't realise Prime Messi was moving from Barcelona to PSG. You know, it's just absolutely crazy. And even that would be terrible. It is. We're all in the wrong job. I'm more into the idea of Bear from Hoffenheim, says Nevster. And if Zirkzee wants... Yeah, I've done that one from Rory C as well. So, yeah, expect a Branthwaite offer to go in. I think that's absolutely inevitable. Mario says, what's happening with Todibo? I'm not worried about Todibo. As I've said before, it might just be a theory, and it certainly is a theory. But I think on Todibo, when he is a player that we own, well, Sir Jim owns because he owns Nice, and when he's a player that Nice know that they are open to selling for about 35 million quid, and when it's a player that, you know, would like to come to Manchester United, then I don't think it's a player that you've got to move quickly on because you're in control of that deal. Now, if a Premier League club comes in and says, there's 35 million for Todibo, and Nice say to Sir Jim, we want to negotiate and do that deal, then Sir Jim Radcliffe knows that, hey, Eric, Barada, what do we want to do about this? Do we want the guy? Because, you know, he's now itchy feet because Liverpool or Spurs are looking at him. And we control that deal. Doesn't mean we'll do it, but we control that deal. So why would you move on that deal when you don't control the Branthwaite deal, when you don't control the Zirkzee deal, when you're competing for a midfielder? With Todibo, it's not that you don't want him, it's not that he's not a priority, but he's there. You can control that deal to a certain extent. And I think United are just moving on the deals that they need to move on quickly. You don't necessarily get your best player at the start of the transfer window. If you look at last summer, Mason Mount, I would say that Rasmus was more important, in my opinion, and that happened towards the end of the window. Dan James was one of the first signings of the summer once. Certainly wasn't the best player we got. So the way you do your deals isn't always in order of who's the best player. Vagabond says, I get your issue with agent fees, but technically agents are entitled to it. Same as similar estate agents. We should just pay it and move on. No, I completely disagree with you there. Of course, an agent is entitled to a fee, but they shouldn't be getting 33% of the transfer fee. They shouldn't get 12 million. What has that agent done to deserve 12 million pounds for Zirkzee going from Bologna to Manchester United or Milan? It's absolutely disgusting. 12 million pounds. It's more than most of us will ever have as a combination. It's incredible. It should be capped. Give him $1 million. If he wants 1 million, that's fine. But 12 million, disgusting. Mark, would you take any striker that wouldn't threaten his favourites' place? Mark would take any striker that wouldn't threaten his favourites' place, is Emmanuel. Emmanuel, it's amazingly brave of you and I suppose naive to a certain extent, but we're grateful for the content that you would like to expose yourself on the morning show as a complete and utter prat. But by all means, opinions are welcome. I was asked this question last night about the striker situation. I don't do Player FC, so I don't care if... mate, I grew up with Cole, York, Sheringham and Solskjaer, and I liked them all. I didn't have a favourite. Only 2 of them could get picked, sometimes only 1. I don't care whether we've got 3 superstar strikers, 2, doesn't matter to me. Competition for places is exactly what it's all about. I will not be there moaning next season if Zirkzee's starting over Rasmus. I really, really won't. Have you seen the Swedish Rumble breakdown of United budget with FFP? Can spend 250 million, so the 50 million mentioned by Radcliffe is just Glazonomics again, says Andy. I haven't read that, but I certainly will do. I have seen this morning an update from the Manchester Evening News that I'm just going to bring you, though, in relation to Bruno Fernandes, Manchester United not ready to sit down and negotiate a new contract with Bruno at the moment. However, if he stays beyond the transfer window, then we would look at potentially sitting down and doing a renewal. I mean, I wouldn't say that's slow sports news. I'd say it's no sports news, because Man United very rarely sit down in the summer and do contract negotiations. I mean, actually, I say very rarely. I remember us doing one in the January transfer window a few years ago for Martial, and it was like a new signing. So it was very much Glazonomics to do contract renewals in a transfer window, because you can pass it off as a new signing. No intelligent football club should be doing contract renewals in a summer transfer window, because a summer transfer window, you should be run off your feet. So I don't think that it's that Man United are refusing to give Bruno a contract renewal. I think they're saying we don't do contract renewals in a transfer window because we're too busy selling and buying. What we will do is we'll sit down with you in September. We'll sit down with you after the transfer window. And that's what we as a football club, as fans, have been shouting about for years. You don't do contract renewals in January and you don't do them in the summer, because you can do contract renewals between September and Christmas. You can do them between February and May. You don't do them when a summer transfer window's open. So I ain't got a problem with that. I think it's absolutely what we've been shouting out for a very, very long time. Apparently Weghorst is going to Ajax. That means nothing, doesn't it? Branthwaite swap suggested, ESPN. Harry Maguire. Well, we've spoken about that. We've spoken about that, haven't we? And I think that got a bit of an update about Kuna as well. I'm going to bring you as well. We've spoken about that, and I don't really. It's not a swap deal. I think look. Some of us know about this. Swap deals are going to be very, very rare for a Premier League club, and certainly Manchester United. They're problematic, swap deals. That you're doubling your workload. It can have impacts on financial fair play. What you do with Everton is you say, we'll do this Branthwaite deal, and when that's done, we'll do you a good deal for McTominay or for Maguire or Wan-Bissaka. That's what you do. You don't do a swap deal. There's no point. Why give yourself a shitload of work doing a swap deal, which is hard, when you can just go, let's get the Branthwaite deal done, and then let's get this deal done here. You know, you've got the money from Branthwaite, you give it us back for this. Look, whether Everton do that or not, that's up to them. I'm not saying like Everton have to buy one of our players. It's up to them. But if we want to buy Branthwaite, I want to get that deal done. If they want to come to Manchester United and buy one of our players with some of that money, I think it's a wise move. Maguire would make Everton better. McTominay would make Everton better. Wan-Bissaka would make Everton better. Lindelof would make Everton better. You know, we have got some players that would be good, but it's up to them whether they want to do it. Mao says, hi Mark, forgive me if I'm being stupid, but how can Chelsea afford to buy all these players? I thought they had to sell to not breach FFP. Leave it with Chelsea, mate. How Chelsea do their business, I don't know. But one thing's guaranteed is that Chelsea will do business. An update on Kuna, the Wolves strike. Oh, can I just say as well? I mean, I know it was only a short cameo, but there is, and I remember saying this to you a few months ago when it was sort of Elise or Neto. And look, I bet if I do a poll on this now, it will be a very, very one-way street, but we'll still do it. Either or. Elise, Neto. Neto's a fantastic player. And his creativity was from the left-hand side, obviously, for Portugal last night, but from the right-hand side for Wolves as well. He is a very, very good player. He has got injury problems. I don't know whether United would go back in, but he is a player that United were looking at 2 or 3 months ago in very deep detail. I've not heard anything about Neto and Man United for weeks, but back in March, we sort of decided that Elise was the player we were going to go for. But around February time, Neto was very much in the conversation. Still a very good player. Very, very good player. I just, saw him come on last night, and it's not because of that. What the season he's had at Wolves when he's been fit is incredible, and not just this season, but I don't even know why I'm mentioning it. I'm just saying, like, Neto is a player that United looked at a lot. What his price would be, I don't know. And that leads into this story this morning coming out from, which we'd already spoken about. Actually, we've already spoken about this. He just Kuna saying he's happy at Wolves, but, things happen. I'll leave this to my agent and, we'll analyse it when I get back from being part of the Brazilian national team, of which, a lot of players are out away at the moment. But I don't know what the situation is with Wolves. And I probably should do some... I'll try and see what I can find out now. Because there was an article in the New York Times that Wolves have had a lot of losses. I mean, you just don't know. The honest answer is, if you do just a basic search on Wolves, they've had a tough couple of years around profit and sustainability rules and FFP. And if they need to do something, then they may need to do something before June the 30th. On the other hand, maybe they don't. And I think that's... Look, there's a lot... We spoke about what David Ornstein said yesterday about Everton, that Everton do have to do something before June the 30th. It's not anything necessarily Branthwaite big, but they've got to do something. And I think there's a few clubs like that. So there might be opportunities there. I think Kuna's probably worth about 50, 40. And I think Neto's probably worth about 50, 40 as well. But I thought Jota was worth a lot more than he was when when Liverpool got him for under 40. So you just don't, you don't know. But what I do know is that Ineos will be looking at those sort of opportunities, because there's some good players there, and there's some very, very good opportunities that Manchester United can be looking at. We've just got to make the right sort of choices, haven't we? Oh, just seeing this actually in the Manchester... Well, it's not from the Manchester Evening News. It's actually Alan Shearer interview where they've quoted it. So Shearer's been speaking about Erik ten Hag. I mean, I'm sure he'll be trying to say something positive now, but we all heard what he said after the FA Cup final. He said, "What a mess it's been. How kind of Man United to go to Ibiza and inform him that he's still wanted as the manager, and then tell him that they've spoken to other candidates. It's a bizarre situation. It's not how things should be done in football. If you're going to speak to other managers, then speak to them, but keep it in-house. You can't let the public know. To be undermined like he has done, I know they're now saying that he has their support and they want him to carry on, but from a personal and human point of view, it's not the right way to treat someone. It takes a lot of power away from him. Will the players look at him and think he's a really strong manager and he's in a strong position? Probably not, because of the way they've treated him. It was meant to be all new at Old Trafford with the very best coming in. I don't think they've got off to a good start. I think Alan Shearer is a very bitter man for somebody that is the all-time Premier League goal-scoring record. Had a very good career with England and Newcastle. Won a Premier League with Blackburn. There just seems to be a bitterness towards Manchester United with Shearer that he is very, very eager to deny. And he has had a good career, and I don't understand it, but he always seems very bitter about Manchester United. I agree with him that the way that Ineos dealt with it wasn't the best, but I completely disagree and see it for what it is when he says it takes a lot of power away from him and that the players might look at him and he's not in a strong position, because that's just the media again. What they want to do next season, and I'm warning you, this is why it's in the morning show, because it's not all about transfers. What the media are going to do next season, and some of you Ten Hag outers might really embrace this, but we who want to see United develop and flourish and blossom have to see it. They're not going to take on board that Ineos have chosen Ten Hag and are backing him. They're going to go, yeah, but they looked at other people, which means that they didn't want him, and that means he's weak, and that means they don't want him, and that means the players don't want him, and that means the fans don't want him. The media are going to be on his back. And Shearer's talking out his arse there, by the way. The players are not going to look at Ten Hag and go, let's not listen to him. Let's not listen to him. The club were thinking about getting rid of him. What Shearer's saying then is that player power still exists. Look, if you're going to talk on Man United, do your bloody homework. Chat shit, get banged. He's talking nonsense. Man United just won an FA Cup final with 2 months of Ten Hag's getting the sack. If these players didn't respect or want to play for Ten Hag, he wouldn't even be here. So Ineos run a review and decide that Ten Hag's the guy they want. Why would the players go, ooh, let's down tools again? It's just nonsense. It's absolutely nonsense. It doesn't undermine his role. He's going to get 5 or 6 new players. What's Zirkzee going to do? Come in and go, thanks for signing me, Eric. Not listening to you, though. They interviewed Tuchel. It's nonsense. It's just nonsense. But it's the usual media. And some of you won't be old enough to remember that hated, adored, never ignored, and siege mentality. They're always going to come for us. Don't ever, ever take too much notice about the media, because they'll always come for us. Even the bloody journalists who sit in the press conferences asking questions are tweeting, sack this manager in the middle of games. Like, they're not there to support the football club. They're there to generate stories. And stories, mostly around Man United over the last 10 years, have been negative. The only way for us to counter this is to support the players, support the team, support the manager, and for them to deliver on the pitch. And I really, really, really think that next season will be a good season for Manchester United. I think, even looking at the fixtures yesterday, there's an opportunity to have a good start. There's some difficult games in there, but if we beat Fulham, we beat Brighton, and we beat Liverpool, what a start that is. But the transfers are so important, and it's a nice circle to come back to. I'm very encouraged by the fact that we're trying to move quickly. I'm very encouraged by the Romano story that we're talking to midfielders in the last 24 to 48 hours, because that's progressive. I'm very encouraged that we're trying to hijack the Zirkzee deal, and I'm very encouraged that we're going second bid on Branthwaite, because this is quick on priority positions. And what we want to do is go on tour and play that Community Shield game ahead of Fulham with players that have come into the club. What we cannot do is what we've done so many times. Start the season, no Casemiro, no Rasmus, no Amrabat. It's happened for so long. We start the season and we're not ready to go. You start the season and it's Lindelof and Maguire at centre-back. We can't start the season like that. We've got key players who are going to be on holiday until late July. Who those players are? Probably Martinez, Copa America. Garnacho, maybe Bruno, maybe Mainu, England. You just don't know. So what we need to do is bring players in that are ready to hit the ground running for Manchester United right at the start. We can't be giving away points at the start of the season, because that will feed into the negativity that is waiting to jump onto this football club. And I'm encouraged by the fact that we are looking to do deals quickly. And obviously someone like Jarrad Branthwaite isn't part of the Euros. So bang, start of July, you're training with Manchester United. Same with Todibo. If that deal gets done, bang, you're back. You're training with Manchester United right at the start. Zirkzee, obviously, with the Netherlands, I don't think he's going to go that deep into the tournament and might not even play that much football. So fresh, get him back in. I want to see United going into this new season, ready. Not everybody's going to be ready. We're going to have players that have played deep in tournaments, of course. To be fair, there's a dynasty of ex-footballers who feel bitter that Sir Alex didn't sign them, says Nick P. And Joseph says, Erik ten Hag is a role model showing the players how to dig in and knock down tools when it is hard times. If we're slating someone for getting 12 million, we'd all take it, says Goldio. Yeah, we'd all take it. Mate, of course we would. We are slating them because it's our money. Goldio, what are you talking about? Like, if you're the agent of Zirkzee, you get 12 million, you're going to be dancing around your garden naked. Of course you are. Doesn't mean we should all go, oh, fair play for him. It's bloody ridiculous. It's our money. Not ours, if you know what I mean. Calvin Stewart says, you've changed my mind on Rabiot. What has changed your mind on him? I think Rabiot is an odd one. I had a problem with Rabiot and the reputation of him. I felt that certainly at PSG, he was a player that didn't fulfill his talent. But watching him in the World Cup for France, and then watching him the other night for France, there's a maturity about his game. He works really hard as well. There was a time in the Austria game where they were breaking, and his pace to get back is incredible for such a big guy. He's good on the ball. He's obviously very physical. I think if Rabiot didn't have the fact that we've tried to sign him twice and he's wanted ridiculous money, and maybe his mum as an agent, again, we're talking about agents, and the temperamental issues of the past, then I would say as a player, I would take him every day of the week. There is a question mark about it. But having said that, we've tried to get him twice. We tried to get him in the first summer and we tried to get him last summer. So he will certainly be a player on the list. His current wage at Juventus is around £170,000 a week. So I don't think there's going to be many clubs that are going to go, let's get Rabiot and give him 170k a week. Certainly not Barcelona, certainly not Real Madrid, certainly not Man City, certainly not Arsenal or Liverpool. So it puts us into a situation where we might be able to do something. And people say he's going to want 250k a week, but who's going to give it him? People are going to say he's going to want 200 grand a week, but who's going to give it him? I think if you're selling me, Casemiro goes on 300k a week, he's gone, and we get a bit of money, and we get Rabiot on a free on 175k a week, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. Now, whether he can physically live up to it, I don't know. Whether he's the right temperament to bring into the football club, I don't know. But I think, obviously, I would want João Neves. I would probably want Zubimendi and Edison over him. But I certainly think he's on the list. In relation to injuries, it is quite extensive when you look at it. I mean, this season, God, it is quite extensive. But they're not. None of them are particularly long. He had a muscle fatigue injury in May that kept him out for 6 days. He had a foot injury in February that kept him out for 20 days. He had a calf problem in January that kept him out for 12 days. Thigh problem in January, 6 days. Bruise in December, 8 days. And then last summer, a couple of calf. I mean, look, there is a few calf problems there. And muscle injuries, but there's nothing that's ever longer than a couple of days, a week or two. But yeah, look, inclination, we won't sign Rabiot. I don't think Rabiot. Look, my opinion is, I think we'll look at it. My opinion is that it's worth looking at. My assessment is we won't do that deal. I don't think it's what Ineos want to do. I don't think Ineos will sign off Rabiot. I just don't think they will. I think they'll look at it and go, 29, 170k a week. What if there's a big fall off injury-wise or form-wise in the next 18 months? we're stuck with a player who's 31, 30 on 170k a week. I don't think it's what Ineos want to do. I think they'll look at somebody like Zubimendi, not Zubimendi actually. I think they'll look at someone like Fofana or Edison or João Neves and go for that. Kevin says, bullshit, Mark. That guy was right about Greenwood. It's up to us what we think, not you. Kevin, you're thick. Sorry. I think, just before you get absolutely torn apart in the comment, you didn't listen to what I said. At the start of the show, somebody said we shouldn't be selling Greenwood. We should be keeping him and not signing Zirkzee. And I said that's an opinion. And you're entitled to your opinion. And you're right to have your opinion. But you're wasting your time if you're putting any energy into thinking it will happen. Absolutely 100% decision been made for a long time. Greenwood's going to get sold. That's what I said, Kevin. I didn't say you're wrong for wanting Greenwood back. I'm just saying you're wasting your time. You're wasting your energy. If you're going to bed at night, praying that Greenwood's going to come back to Man United, you're wasting it. It's just not going to happen. Fact. It's got nothing to do with me, nothing to do with you. It's not going to happen. Have your opinion. You're right to have it. But you're wasting your time if you're thinking, please, Greenwood's going to come back. Man United are going to change their mind. They're not going to do it. He's not coming back. He's getting sold. For the multitude of reasons we've spoken about for the last 12 months. So you didn't listen. And my lesson to you in life would be to listen to what people actually say. No one's saying that Greenwood shouldn't be coming back. Well, some people are. But that's not what I said. I didn't say your opinion is wrong to have him back. I'm saying you're wasting your time. You need to move on because it's wasted energy. It's not going to happen. You've got no say in it and the decision's already been made. Paying the extra agent fee better surely than spending silly amounts on another striker. If we get a top choice for a good price, take it. Surely how the funds are split is not our concern. Well, again, Goldio, that's your opinion, but I'm not comfortable with giving £34 million to Bologna and then giving £12 million to an agent. It's absolutely disgusting. Morally, I don't think we should do it. If you want to, that's fine, and maybe Ineos want to do that, but I think it's absolutely disgusting. I think it's absolutely disgusting. Why should one individual take £10 million out of football into their own bank account and Bologna don't get it, and Man United have to give it? What has that agent done to earn £12 million out of a deal like that? It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting, and it shouldn't be happening. Of course, an agent should get some money, but they shouldn't be getting £12 million out of a 34 million transfer. It's just, it's ridiculous. Tom says, Rabiot's mum is the main issue. She's the Karen of agents, says Tom. Calvin says, you're right what you say. Kevin says, I hope we'll make a move on João Neves. I just pray he doesn't have a blinder like Galer, says Kevin. Yeah, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Look, the agent thing is just a moral thing. It won't stop the deal. I think Zirkzee to Man United will happen. I think Branthwaite to Man United will happen. The only way those deals don't happen is if United put statements out through journalists saying, we wanted to do the deal, but we're not paying stupid fees. That's the only way. I think that both players want to come to United. I think both deals can get done. But honestly, my takeaway from this morning show, I'm excited about who the midfielder is going to be. That's who I'm excited about. Those talks in the last 24 to 48 hours that we've had, according to Fabrizio, with representatives of midfielders, I want to know who those midfielders are. I suspect it's Rabiot, João Neves, Edison, Onana, and Fofana. Hopefully Zubimendi as well. But I'd be stunned if it wasn't some of those players there. Goldio says, so you'd rather pay 60 for a different striker. But Goldio, look, I like the back and forth, but you're making stuff up. You make who's the £60 million striker we're paying for if we don't get Zirkzee? What about Bayer at Hoffenheim, who's 27 million? What about Jonathan David, who's 35 million? What about 2 or 3 other strikers you're not even talking about that will cost less than 40 million? I mean, Ivan Toney's going to cost you 60, but if we don't get Zirkzee, doesn't mean we're going to get Toney. Toney's completely different type of striker to Zirkzee as well. So what I would do, Goldio, is I would look at Zirkzee and I'd go, if we don't get Zirkzee, we're obviously looking at a certain type of attacker. you know, an individualistic type of striker who's quite young who can develop. That's clearly what we're looking at. I'd be very surprised if we went from Zirkzee to Tony for double the price and a different type of striker. Who do you think will be the first to reach their ceiling? Garnacho, Mainu, Højlund, Ahmad, Hayens. Well, it's a great question because everybody's ceiling is going to be higher. What if Garnacho's ceiling is to be one of the top 5 players in the world, but Mainu's ceiling is to be one of the top 20 midfielders in the world? Then maybe Mainu will hit it first. Who do I think is going to be the better player out of those 4? I still think Garnacho's got the highest ceiling in the club at the moment. There we go. Thanks everyone for watching this morning. Fantastic show. Don't forget, Euros goes again. 2 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 8 o'clock. We're live on That's Football. Get yourself over there. Our evening show will be at 7 o'clock tonight, ahead of Scotland, Switzerland, Scooby-Doo. Lots going on That's Football. Lots going on here. I'm sure we'll get some more developments in the next 24 hours as well. Make sure you've subscribed. Smash a like on the video. I'll speak to you all later. I think I need to go and have a lie down. That was a very intense show, but great stuff. Legends. I'll speak to you all in a bit.